So, good morning and good evening, wherever you are, whenever you're watching. Uh, I'm having today a second episode of my English version of my podcast. It's like only a second episode for in English. Mainly I do in my native language in Lithuanian. So, but I mean, I have this opportunity, which I'm really glad and really thankful. I'm really grateful uh, to see you, to meet you finally in like in nice, because we've been chatting for some years,
Yes.
but we never talked in person. This is not exactly in person, but I mean, having in mind we're living in different
Yes.
parts of the world, it's kind
Yeah.
of. So can you just please tell a little about yourself to the people who will be watching us? Where are you from? Who are you?
So I'll first start with how we connected.
Yeah,
So
that's
we
nice.
connected through the Real AF podcast, which is one of
100%.
the best podcasts on Apple, and it's a good mix of American and world politics, and also personal development, building a business, how to get better in life in general. So I'm one of the five core people on the team. That's how we connected. But so I created a fan page for Andy Frisella, who has the Real AF podcast.
Yeah,
That's how
yeah.
we connected. But my backstory, my name is Zeeshan. I was born and raised in India. And the reason how I got to America for the first time was through a family visa. One of my aunties applied for my mother, and we as a whole family came to the US for the first time in 2008. And
Okay.
since then, I've been coming every year just to keep my green card alive because that's when I got my green card. And I
Okay.
eventually knew once I complete my college, I will come here and start my life here, start my career here. So in 2014, when I finished my college and everything, I moved to US. And I don't know if I ever told you, I went to dental school. So I'm technically a
Oh, okay.
dentist. Yeah,
Okay.
but I've always been interested in design and illustration. I always have been drawing. So I always kept doing that through my dental school after that. So when I moved from India to US in 2014, I was doing two or three part-time jobs while applying for dental schools. So what happens when you bring a degree that deals with healthcare, like you're a doctor, you're a pharmacist, you're a dentist, or nursing, you have to go in and out of a US credited school. That's how you can work inside the US. Let's say you go to a medical school in Lithuania and you want to come here and work, you have to go in and out of a US medical school to work
Okay.
here. So that's what I was applying for. So I gave two exams and then I was in between the process for applications for different dental schools. That's when in 2019 this job happened. And how it happened was I have been listening to Andy on the podcast since 2016. And then I've been listening to 3, 4 years, and I just thought randomly in March of 2019 that I keep listening to him. I draw all the time. So why not combine both of these things and start a fan page?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
fan pages are a really big thing right now, but they were not as big as that on that time. So I started one and I created some illustrations.
Yeah, I
And
remember when you
then,
started. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And on the same day, Andy reposted it in his stories. And
Oh, okay.
when you have no social presence almost, and then somebody who is a millions of followers reposts your stuff, you get really excited, especially when you look up to them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So he reposted my stuff, and I was like, wow, now I have to keep doing it. So I
Yeah.
kept doing it every single day on top of my part-time jobs. And
Okay.
about 8 to 9 months down the line, Andy DM'd me on Instagram, and his exact words were, "Hey, move to Missouri and work for me." And I was like, this is such an unusual way to ask somebody to come work for him. And at that time, I was living in Chicago,
Yeah.
which is 5 hour a drive from Missouri or a 1 hour a flight.
Right. Okay.
So we were talking, and he connected me with somebody on his team, and then we exchanged details, and we had an interview. I interviewed with some people. He was not there at that time, and we went back and forth. And about 6 months later or something, I was on his team. And so we are recording this. You and I are recording this on March 1st of
Yeah,
2025.
yeah, yeah.
I was hired on the job on March 2nd, 2020.
That's cool.
So one day from now, it'll be 5 years for me working for him.
5 years already. Man, years run so
Five
fast.
years.
Run so
I
fast.
know.
It's
I
like yesterday we started
absolutely.
like DMing each other. Keep on doing. You're doing great. I remember when you started. So let's begin. Let's get back a little bit to a dentist school. One question. Did you
Yeah.
go there because your family said it's a good choice? It's a good way to start your life to go there. Is it? Is it that way?
Yes, but I will say there are two components to it. So first component of what you're saying is correct. Is in especially in traditional families, like I was born and raised in India, and my father is a doctor. His father was a doctor. So we have generations of just doctors. So at that time, let's say 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and still is a little bit, but 20 years ago, people think that becoming a doctor or an engineer, especially in India, is the kind of stable job that you want to have,
Okay.
because everything else is considered not stable compared to being a doctor or a dentist
No,
or
no.
an engineer. So I had this indirect soft pressure on me to go for it because there has been so many doctors in my family. So that was number one. But the second aspect of it also was that I personally did not know the scope of how great a life you can have with doing something else, with doing design or
Mm,
doing something entrepreneurial. So I didn't know that. So I didn't have the mental makeup that I have right now. So I thought, okay, that's great. And I have been always good with studies. Like I was always in the top 5% of my class, starting
okay.
from nursery until college. So I was always good at studies. I never hated it, but I still didn't like it as much as design or drawing. Like
Okay.
today, if I'll sit, I have some free time, I'll just start drawing or designing wallpapers or designing some graphics or stuff like that. That is not the case with dentistry, but I never hated it though.
Oh, okay, okay. That's interesting. That's how I didn't become lawyer.
Oh, so yeah, I never
It's,
asked you. So for the people who are watching or listening from my side, give a little bit of background about yourself. Like, what do you do now and anything?
I mean, where do I begin? It's like same. The family led me to idea that at the moment that I finished the school, it's a good idea to be a lawyer, because it was like popular that meant, and that was the problem because it was too popular. Now it's too many of them. It's like same in America, right? But I thought from the some series from the America where I saw the American judicial system where they argue in courts, the lawyers and the prosecutors, they argue in courts. I thought that's cool. I would like that thing of like that kind of stuff. But when I started studying, it was like international university, American teachers over there. I understood that it's not for me because it's like mostly case studying. It's like I'm not the sitter at the table. I cannot. I need to run. I need to. I enjoyed and played basketball like 8 hours a day all my youth. So for me, it was like with years, with months, I understood that it was a different. I mean, a bad choice for me to go into the law. But I didn't have the
Okay,
balls. I didn't have the balls to tell my father, I don't want to do that. At the same time, I
same.
saw at the same time, I saw other guys studying media, which is what I'm doing now, right? I saw, and I kind of remember having this kind of little envy to them, like, and curiosity. What are they doing there? What are their studies like there? But I also was all every time in the business because my father is a businessman all his life. after the Soviet Union, the business is not like an American right now. It's not like first form or something. It was like more speculation, more way because the system was broken after many years of the Soviet Union. You need to find something cheaper there to sell something cheaper from here to there, right? So, and I've been living in this family my whole life, so I kind of have this entrepreneurial spirit, right, in me. I'm this kind of guy, but the worst thing in my life was alcohol because it's also a culture, the East European, the Soviet. I started drinking like in mid-teens, and it was like getting more and more heavy, more and more heavy. Like it led me to not actually finish the university, to break, like to marry and break out while I was literally drunk all that time. It wasn't like I was like too drunk to like to lay on the ground, but drinking beers every like day, every second day, like 4 or 5 days a week. I was drinking beers like every evening. This was my life for 15 years, for 20 years. And then like in the 30s, somewhere around that, I've like understood like after some not successful businesses because I wasn't disciplined enough. After the marriage broke up, after the health going bad, I understood that I need to change. I knew every day I was drinking that one day I'll have to quit. And then the day came. Like I had to fix it that I stopped. I stopped drinking and then my life changed. Then I like and then after some time I found Andy. And I was like in a and I was like in a place where I didn't know what I want to do. It's like, yeah, I know I want to do business, but you've like lost many years, you didn't do anything, so you have to start from the beginning. You see other guys already over there, and you're late, you're not there anymore. We had a family business, we had our pizzeria, let's say my father built, right? And it was kind of left for me, but it wasn't mine. I had to like do business there, but still I had to listen what my father would say, is this good or not good? And I didn't agree a lot with him, right? So it wasn't like I was in my place. And it was at that time I found Andy. It was like a winter time. Here we have like same like in Missouri, I guess, cold winters, right, with a lot of snow. And I had to do to make a house. How do you say? To cut the wood to make the house
Okay.
heat the house, right?
Okay.
The house and the
Okay.
coffee, two places,
Okay.
coffee, the pizza place and the house. So I would wake up like at 5 o'clock, go to one in the basement of my house to make this stuff like in the morning from the beginning, and then I would go to a coffee shop at 6 at something to make there to bring the wood from like a snow place for 100 meters to make it all work, like and I was feeling like miserable, like even though it's mine, right? I work for me. It's not like I work for someone else, this bad job. But I was in a miserable place. And then I hear the Andy saying one in one of the podcasts was a impaler that it's like even if you cook the fries, right? Make it the best you can, right? Make your best.
Yes.
Then when I
Yeah.
started, like started changing my mind. Okay, I'm here like iron sharpens iron, right? If you had to cut the same Andy said, if you have to cut the tree, have you 4 hours, 3 hours you like prepare your axe and then you go to cut the tree. That's the where my mindset started shifting, and it changed. Like I spent less time overall in making the, let's say, pizzeria hot, warm, because I prepared for a longer time. That's what. So I found Andy on Instagram stories where I didn't never ever at that moment I used the stories. But somehow, I don't know, like Americans say, God works in mysterious ways, right?
Oh, 100%.
I pressed on the stories, and here was Andrew screaming out his lungs, like he does. Like, who the fuck is this guy? But somehow I stick to him. and like one story, two stories, oh, a podcast, okay, and they were in the middle, like I don't know, 80, 50 episodes. I don't know how much the episodes at the moment they were in of the project, but I had like I decided I had to go to episode one and to listen to all of them because I knew this guy will change my life, and he changed. He changed my life, like the trajectory of my life, like I don't know how 100% you can say, but it changed a lot. The mindset,
So
the
what
everything.
year was it when you found him? What year was it roughly?
It's like a year before when you started. What was the year when you started the fan page?
2019.
19. I guess it would be 18.
Okay.
Pretty
Okay.
much, pretty much.
Got it.
So yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
what work do you do now?
I'm now like a second year. I'm all in day trading in trading.
Okay.
That's why I was
Nice.
coming. That's why I was coming to New York. I found a mentor there in New
Okay.
York. I mean, I started in a bad way in trading. I found those Discord groups, all that stuff,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
just a good way to lose the money. But then I understand, like, I mean, every time for me, like I said before, we started talking, and it's like for me, his content for me is like a really really good university, like he says. I meant I went from everything, like from mindset, entrepreneurship, the way of life, everything came from him, like changed for him. uh, After I saw Sean Whalen at his episode, I was in his group for Lions Den for a few years. This guy added a lot to me, the Add My Lad content, the Brad Lee content, all the guys that came from Andy's podcast. I mean, they are my main like teachers, let's say, right?
Okay.
Because at
Okay.
the time when I finished drinking, I didn't have friends left because I went out of that life. And they say stay in like five people that you talk mostly, you
Yes.
become. So that was
Yes.
my five people, like Andy, Sean, Ed. That's how I changed. So
Okay.
yeah, and now I'm in a day trading. It's like a new thing, but I'm fuck your plan B, right? I decided
Yeah.
I'm in. That's it. I mean, I've sacrificed everything. Like I've even sold a couple of my old apartments that I had left to get into this. That's it. I decided I'm doing it.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, and Andy has a big impact in that, a lot. I mean, huge, the whole life.
Absolutely. And I just want to add to that point where you said, how you found him and there was no actual plan of finding him.
Yeah,
I think a similar thing happened to me as well. Back in like 2016, I lived with my brothers in Chicago, and we were just randomly talking, randomly watching like different kinds of videos on YouTube. So one day we were watching motivational videos on YouTube. So either it was a standalone video of Andy, or it was like a montage of different entrepreneurs. And I saw Andy in one of those videos, and I was like, huh, that's interesting. And I'll look him up. So I started listening to the MFCEO project. And then at that time, I had different podcasts in my phone. And once I started listening to it and I got a hang of it, I was like, this is very in line with what I kind of want to live my life. And
yeah,
his language kind of speaks to me because sometimes you want a big brother who
yeah,
wants more of you and wants you to like give you a kick in the ass, like, hey, you can do more, just go out and do more. So I liked that language and I started listening to him. And then, how things turned out. And then I created a fan page, and now I'm working for him every single day. So it's just adding to what you said, like God works in mysterious ways.
yeah, yeah,
And one of the other things I will add to this, and I don't know how much you believe in this or not, but I'm a big believer in the law of attraction. Like if you think things, if you make your belief around something, it will eventually come into my life. And the example I want to give you is in my last year of internship at my dental school, which was back in 2013. I used to always, whenever we used to just sit and we have some downtime, I would just always draw. And in general, I always appreciated and loved fit people, both males and females. I loved fit people. And I used to work out, not as much as right now, but I used to always like work out, try to like get fit and stuff like that. So I jokingly said to my friends that, how cool would it be to just earn a living, just sitting and drawing and being around fit people? And that has been my life now for the last 5 years.
Yeah,
When I
that's
think
great.
about that moment, it's so crazy, but it is my life right now. So that also adds to what you said, because if you're saying like, you have no plan B and you're like all into this and you genuinely believe that you're going to make it and you work towards it, I have no doubt it will happen.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, you always wish it would be faster, sooner,
Oh,
because,
for
but
sure.
I want my things, but the God has his planning, right? His timing, especially his timing, right?
Absolutely.
And people say, be careful what you wish for, right? It's like in your situation.
100% on what you said, actually. So Steve Jobs, the Apple guy,
Yeah, yeah,
he was giving a speech long time ago, like a graduation speech at the
yeah,
university, and one
yeah,
of the
yeah.
very famous lines from his speech is, you can only connect the dots looking backwards in your life, you
Backwards.
cannot
Yeah,
connect the dots looking forwards. So what's going to come forward, we have so much stuff in our mind, the good and bad, so hopeful and stressful. Say we everything is jumbled up. But where you are right now, and you look back into your life, and you clearly see the things that didn't happen and the things that happened, all led to the fantastic path that you are on right now.
yeah, yeah.
Even the stuff that I really wanted to work and didn't work, now I realize like that didn't work, but it was in my favor.
Absolutely, man. We had huge losses with my father in business. Like we had like €1 million lost, like scammed for it, or literally scammed. But even now, I'm looking back. It's a few years ago. I'm looking back and I'm grateful, and I understand why it happened for me to be here now, where I am. I mean, because I didn't know the management of the money back then, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to become the trader if it didn't happen to me before. So, tell me about your application to job. Do I understand correctly when you came to Missouri for the first time, you wanted more money, they didn't give you, and you get back? Is something
Hey, how do
like
you
that? I
remember
remember.
that?
I heard it in a podcast or somewhere. I mean,
No, you have good memory. Yes. So what happened was, I interviewed with Emily, who's also the COO of Andy's brand, and his wife. So I
yeah, yeah.
interviewed with her and about like 7, 8 other people. The interview went very good. It was awesome. And they wanted to ask me what I wanted for my salary. And at that time, I said too much. And I going back, I was like, nah, man, I did ask a lot. So they denied me. So they said like, no, this is a very even though like they asked me to do a few things. So I did some designs back and
Okay,
forth for stories, a little bit of basic animation, stuff like that. And they said that no, this is too much for a starting position. We will let you know what we decide. And there was like silence for a few months. And even though this happened, I still continued doing
of course. Yeah.
my my fan page art. I was still posting every day like I used to. Nothing changed over there. I
Not a
have
quitter.
this, not a quitter. And I was just getting to that point. I'm very stubborn for the things I really want. So I kept doing it, I kept doing it, I kept doing it. And about 2 to 3 months after complete silence, I DM'd Andy saying, like, hey, now that I have seen and I've met your people and I've seen the old, so this was the old HQ before this big
Yeah.
HQ. So there was a smaller building. So I've been there and I see how things work and how everybody is so chill. They work hard, but they also make fun of each other. So I got that taste in a day or two. So I was like, now I'm more interested and I don't want to quit. And, what can I do to make things work? And again, like I didn't get any response at all from Andy. And on Instagram, you can see that somebody has
Yeah,
seen your
yeah,
message.
seen it.
So I was like, I don't know what to do, but I was like, this is another one of my traits. Like, even if I'm in a big pile of shit, I would still like say, hey, there is a way. I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. I keep telling me that in different situations. So even if there was no response, I still kept doing it and I held to it. And after a few days, he said that, okay, we'll set up something again. We'll try to see how it happens. And then I had a talk with Emily, and I had another interview a few months later, a few weeks later. And
Yeah.
then we kind of decided, okay, this is a good spot to start, and we'll go from there. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And I remember the second interview that I had was on a Thursday. And they said that, okay, when can you come and start working? And I said, Monday. And because I was living alone, I had very few stuff with me. I just put whatever I had in my car and I moved and got an Airbnb and started on Monday. And
All
then a
right.
few weeks down the line, I went back again, brought the rest of my stuff, and I stayed in an Airbnb for 2 months before getting an apartment on rent.
Never looked back, right?
Never looked back. And I always tell people like this was the second best decision of my life.
The first one was,
The first one's my wife.
wow. Okay. Well, the wife
Yeah.
came after, right?
No, so what happened was I got married in 2018,
Okay.
but
Wow.
because I
Okay.
was living here and she was living in India,
All right.
we, yeah, so she didn't have the visa to come here. And I got my US citizenship late 2019. So I applied for her 2020, and then the whole COVID thing happened. So
Oh man.
everything was on halt. So she came here 2022, and we've known each other for a really long time. So
Mm.
that has changed my life for good in ways that I cannot even imagine. But this is the second best thing that has happened because I actually had a very different perception of first rich people. When you have not been around a lot of rich people, you have a
Yeah.
different perception
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you kind of believe what's shown on YouTube or news, things like that. So that heavily changed. And the second thing, my definition of hard work just completely was blasted. Like what I knew hard work was not even close.
Came close.
So this is actually reminding me of a question that I get asked a lot, especially after working 5 years so close with Andy and seeing how things work. I
Yeah.
often get asked like, "Hey, what is the best thing that you've learned from him, or what are some of the best things that you've learned from him?" And there are so many things. Of course, you
Of
have
course.
also a
Of
learning
course.
mind, so there are so many things you can say. But I would say the top few things is the number one thing that I've seen Andy do, and I feel like is a big component of his success is what you did as yesterday doesn't matter. No matter how big you scored yesterday, does not matter. If you're not adding in work today, if you're not living up today, it does not matter. And thinking that, hey, you won a game 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and you were like a best in your state or your country
That was
does not
me.
matter.
That was me.
No, that
When
was me
Andy,
too.
when
Yeah,
Andy was speaking like about the guys who are sitting in the bar drinking beers in the middle of the day, speaking about the good days in the high school, that was me. That I recognized myself in there. It's like said, damn, I am that guy. I need to stop
me
doing
too.
that.
Me too. No, I was so good in school and college. I was the top 5% of my class. I was great in sports. I was great in dancing. I was great in arts and crafts. I was good in almost everything. So, but when I came here and moved to Chicago and was doing the jobs and applying to schools, then I got a hard reality check. Like those things do not matter.
Not
what
anymore, huh?
are you doing currently? Not anymore in the real world. And especially in schools and colleges, you have like a small, very
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
safe world, which is kind of shielded from the outside real world. If you're doing good on paper and you're getting good marks, everything's fine. You know, your
yeah,
parents love you, your schoolmates love you. But outside in the real world, doesn't matter what score you have on your mark sheet. What matters is like how good at your you are at your work.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
and I think what you said is that is the reason why so many people connect to with Andy, is because a lot of us do stuff like that.
yeah.
You know, we think of our past victories and we just hold on to it.
Yeah, I
So
mean, Andy is an example. It's not just talking. He did it. He did it all.
yes,
We know how he did look like 6, 7, 8 years ago, right?
yeah,
How he's
yeah.
looking now. What was his business? What was his life? We all, I mean, who follows him, right? Who believes in him? We know. So that's what makes you like also the reality check. You understand that you not don't have to be the best in a high school to be best in your life, you know. I mean, you can achieve it even though you were not a superstar in your high school or college, right?
And I personally believe that the more and more I see entrepreneurs like Andy, and I talk to people like you, and even my wife is more entrepreneurial than me. So one thing that I feel common in amongst like most entrepreneurs or the people who want to do stuff on their own, they were not really good at school, and it actually works in their favor once they finish school, because they were not
Yeah,
really good at school, so they want to try harder when they're outside.
yeah, yeah.
And they have the knack that, oh, within the school I had to work within these set frameworks of rules. In the outside world I can choose which rules I want to follow, and I can be great at it.
What path you? I mean, for me, school was also like the high school was too easy. That's why I was lazy. I didn't like pay too much attention because if I put a little bit of work, I was good enough like to be in the top five as well. But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't. I was more focused on sports, on basketball, on girls and drinking. That was the problem.
yeah.
I went to like my dream was to go to a university in America to play for basketball, right? But it's like God didn't give me a few more inches like to do that. So you know, and so I
Okay.
went to the Estonia to the university and kind of didn't let the dream go for quite some time, you know. But later on, yeah, it's like that's what I want to tell my teenage daughters. Like, don't look the best in the class in your high school to marry. Don't look for him. Look for the one who
Oh
is
yeah.
hardworking. It doesn't matter if he's like a really middle man in the class. It doesn't really freaking matter at all because in life, those will do better who is not that successful in school. Because
I agree. I agree.
yeah, so how do you enjoy? Actually, we'll proceed with working with Andy and his team because as far as I see in a little like episodes from the some videos from First Form, like you know from Sal, from the other guys, from Andy, from you guys, from the podcast, of course, because in a podcast like I feel like I'm sitting with the family because I know every
Yeah.
joke, I know like I laugh my ass together with you every fucking time they make a joke. What was the last joke? The the DJ said about the father.
Yeah.
Gone, magician of the street, not the magician. What he said.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, oh, the joke about your ability to make this. I forgot the word. The paper from the paper.
Paper airplanes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
airplanes and all. So,
Yeah, that was fun.
what it's like really to work in the first form in this atmosphere? How does it? I mean, how does it change your life every day to have
Very,
this
very good question.
guidance?
Very good question. So this actually adds up to what I was saying about hard work. So first of all, it changed my perception about hard work because I was always thinking like, the rich people are like either scammers or they just want to like, make a cheap deal and they become rich or whatever. But no, like you understand, like a lot of people watching this understand, like you actually, the money you get is in proportion to the amount of value you give out.
Yeah,
So hard work is just they have, especially Andy and Sal as the leaders of First Form, they utilize every single minute that they're working. I don't see them just screwing off, or they just, if they do, they're completely doing that. So this actually answers your question. When we are working, we are hardcore working. And when we are not working, we are having fun, making fun of each other, is just doing that. And one of the things that I always tell people when my friends and my family ask, like how you ask, like how it is working over there, the best part was, especially in the starting days when I was working, people were making fun of me and I was making fun of them back without even knowing names of each other. Like we were making fun of each other and then asking each other names, where you're from. And everybody is super supportive of each other. Everybody cleans after each other. So if whenever you come to the HQ, we'll show you like even if there is a small paper on the ground, whoever walks by just cleans it. Everybody cleans after themselves. And I even was telling that to my friend that if the whole of America or the whole of world functioned like that, we will be a way, way, way better species or civilization because we all came from different backgrounds. Like I came from India. There's a lot of people from Bosnia, different parts from US, and nobody asks my religion. Nobody asks like, oh, this and that. Am I good at my work? Like people respect me or people see my work, and that's what I'm valued for. And apart from that, everything else is just there to make fun of me. Like, the Indian part or the Muslim part, the terrorist thing. We make fun of each other left and right. And it's all fun and games. And then once we switch to work mode, it's work. Like, when we are talking about a deadline, it's a deadline. When we are working, it's just work. And everybody's super supportive of each other, like especially when there are team workouts or when multiple people are doing something, like everybody cheers each other. It's a brilliant atmosphere. It's amazing. And I would heavily suggest, like, next time you come to America, try to plan a day or two for here, and
believe
I will
me.
make 100%. And I will make sure you come, you see the headquarters, you see the podcast room where we sit and record the podcast, you get a workout in the gym, you get to meet Andy and DJ, get a picture, everything.
Andy
It's a
doesn't
brilliant
like
atmosphere.
pictures. That's what I'm afraid of it.
No, no,
He said,
we'll
better
we'll
ask
make
me
it
a
happen.
question, not take a picture.
We'll do both.
Yeah,
We'll do
yeah,
both.
yeah, man. Yeah, man, that gym, when I see the gym, I mean, I get to see Andy goes in sometimes into the podcast room, so I kind of imagine how the room looks, how the office looks, how the gym, how looks the basketball court. I heard there are some so-called good players on basketball. I'd love to compete with them for like for
Absolutely.
a few. So yeah, I know the Sal is talking. He's a good at basketball, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
when
mean,
we had a small championship sort of thing happening in our headquarters where people made teams of three, and Sal was with two other people who were really good at basketball. But that basketball tournament that happened at the office was half basketball, half wrestling.
oh, okay.
It
I
was,
get it. It's a
it
street
was,
ball. It's a street
it
basketball,
was
actually.
totally like that. It was like a lot of pushing, a lot of manhandling. It was a lot of stuff like
I
that.
mean, that's my favorite basketball in the youth where we were competing in the street like three against three. That's the best. No blood, no foul, man. It's like that's the best. It's not like who is the best shooter. It's who's the best
Yeah,
fighter, who is the toughest, you
absolutely.
know? You don't have to
Yeah,
play basketball good to win that game. Yeah,
yeah.
man. I mean, that's exactly for my. I'm not sure when I'll be able to make the, because my plan is to come, the dream for now is to come to US and like to spend 2 or 3 months there because I need to see the East Coast, the West Coast, the middle of the America, the
Yeah,
Texas, the of course the
absolutely.
Missouri. Missouri is
Absolutely.
absolutely in that. I mean, how can I miss the opportunity when I have the like my inside person like you there,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
In the place, in the atmosphere where I know this like shaped my life, shaped myself in a different way. I mean, that would be like a sin for me not to go there when I'm able. So that's
Hmm.
I remembered one question I had for you for and about your wife is was it the marriage of your arranged? It's like still a thing in
It
India,
was like
right?
half and half. Yeah, it's still a thing in India, but like 15, 20. If you go 15, 20 years ago, it was more of this. It's becoming more
Mm,
relaxed now. But for example, like the people of my father's generation or my mother's generation, they used to like meet only once and their parents used to decide. Or in some cases that I've heard, is like they haven't even met. And then the parents decided and then they married and they have lived for 20, 30 plus years. In my case,
mm,
it was like half and half.
mm,
We knew about each other, but we still had our parents and their family meet. So it's a little different in different countries. And I mean, you probably know because you know the U.S. culture, you know the culture for your country, so you kind of understand what you mean. What I mean is it's just different in different countries. It's not like
yeah.
night and day different, but the culture is different. So especially from the part where I come from in India, I belong to a very, very small town, actually, the place where I was born and raised. So even to this day, like there is a thing that they have to harmonize between the family. So it's not
Yeah.
just the boy and the girl. The families meet, the father, the mother, the uncles, everybody meet and they check the vibe of each other. You know, there should not be too many differences amongst them.
Okay.
So
Okay.
there, so things like that. So it was half arranged, I would say, but we knew each other. So
Um,
it was a mix.
I asked because what was it last year? Last year when I came to New York first time, and to this weekend training for trading. I met an Indian girl. She's like from Texas, if I remember correctly, and it was like a big surprise for me when we were speaking a little bit about the lives, and she said like her husband and she they met through Zoom because she was living in the United States already. He was living in India. The families decided they should go together and they just met each other before the marriage just on Zoom. So I was like
Yeah,
a little shocked. I kind of forgot that it happens still in life.
it
But yeah,
still
I
happens.
understand.
It still happens. It's been more relaxed. Like now, compared to like 30, 40 years ago,
Yeah, yeah,
parents are more relaxed about letting the potential bride and groom meet. But um, it's how I would say there's this one point that I feel, and I don't know if it's 100% true or not, but what happens when there's an arranged marriage, people try to work it out more. They're
Mhm,
still trying to get to
mhm,
know each other. So the cases for divorce are very low. So especially in my family, on both
mhm.
my mother's and father's side, I haven't heard of a divorce all my life.
Okay.
So, but especially America is notorious for that. So I don't know how it is in your country, but I feel from where I come, people, first of all, they try really hard to make things work and they take divorce out of the discussion. They always try to make it work. And especially because it's arranged marriage, let's say you just met once and you don't know anything about that person, you're still trying to know the other person.
Yeah, I
You're
mean,
trying to live
you
with
have
each
to
other.
live with it. Yeah, yeah,
Exactly. So you're still trying to figure out, like, hey, what's your favorite ice cream? Oh, I like this kind of movie. What kind of movie you like? And then years go by, and then there's a different kind of affection, compared to you knowing that person for 50 years and
Mhm.
then marrying and then going from there.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. And so by the saying you came from the small town, you mean like 500,000 town?
India is definitely populated, but the place where I come from, I don't know the exact number for how big it is or
Yeah,
how populated it is. There's a lot of people in there for sure, but it's a very small town
yeah,
compared to the other towns in India or the other big cities in India. So, for example, I'll just give you a quick example. So when I was living in Chicago, and if I had to fly from there to my house where my parents still live, so first of all, I'll take a flight from Chicago to somewhere in India. So it could be New Delhi, which is the capital of
yeah,
India,
yeah.
or Mumbai, which is one of the western big cities of India. So I'll take a flight, which could be a direct flight or a flight with a stop. And then from there, let's say if I go to New Delhi, I have to take another flight to the closest airport to my house. That's another 2 hour flight. And then the closest airport to my house, it's a 2 hour drive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
I understand. Yeah. Like,
it's a very small city, and a lot of people in India don't know about that city. It's so small. The only, I
yes.
would say, good thing that happened, I mean, there are a lot of good things, but one of the good things that happened during my childhood was first, the school that I started with, even starting with nursery, it was English medium. So everything I learned was in English
Okay.
on top of the language in India. And at the same time, the auntie who applied for me and my mother for us to come here, and I have a lot of uncles and aunties living in different parts of America. So they used to visit every year when I was a kid. So I always had the exposure. Look, oh, I get to eat American candy, and I get to wear American brands for clothes and stuff like that. So those two things worked really in my favor. And even to this day, I get questions from people who I meet for the first time, and they say like, "Oh, your English is decent. What happened? Like, what did you do?" I was like, "I learned it just like you did since the first day in school."
And now children, I mean, I'm amazed. I don't like my son, he's 6. I don't like he's sitting that much on the phone. But I can
Oh
speak in
yeah,
English with him. I can speak in English with him because of his watching the YouTubes, the TikToks, all that stuff. So that also gives some good in the
yes,
sitting the phone. I mean, he's speaking American. He's speaking English. It's like joke. We can joke with him. If we can also kind of understand. He can understand something in English. He can tell me something in English. We've never like taught him about it. So
nice.
the exposure of the English is
You're
helping,
hitting
of
a very
course.
good point because I have always want. So I speak multiple languages, just like you. You already, I know that you know at least two. So,
Three.
so for example, what all languages do you speak?
My native Lithuanian. My second language was Russian, of course, under Soviet Union, even though I was born into like end of the Soviet Union, but we had to learn Russian. It's like natural for me. It came from the cartoons, all that stuff. I mean, I know it. For me, languages is easy. So, and my English is my third language. I studied a little bit of German, a bit French, Estonian. I can make few jokes in those languages. So, but
Okay, okay,
mainly
good.
I speak three languages.
So you understand this what I'm going to say. So I also speak multiple languages. Like there's a lot of languages in India, but I've always wanted to learn Spanish and French. Those two have been one of my
French is so hard.
favorite. Yeah, I heard so.
Spanish, I
But
like Spanish.
the thing here you said about your son, every time I ask anybody who is a native Spanish speaker or native French speaker, they always say that in addition to learning the words and everything, you should, for an hour or two, watch something on TV that is in that language with
Or read a book.
subtitles
Or
or
read a
read a
book.
book. Yeah, yeah. So that way, like how your son picked up English, you'll pick up English if you continuously immerse yourself in that environment.
Yeah, I mean, you just need to watch Narcos without translation. You'll be good in Spanish.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
that's you know
I
some
have
words from.
about yeah, I have about 4 or 5 people at the office who are native Spanish
Hmm,
speakers, and I always like go back and forth a little bit with them.
no
But
problem.
it is very interesting. And on that topic, I don't know if you know, India has about 1,000 languages,
I didn't know
not
that.
dialects, but actual
Languages.
languages. Yeah, so I remember I went from my state to a different state for my dental school, and in that school, around that school, there was a lot of small villages, and they spoke their own state language, which was a complete night and day from English or Hindi, which is the
Okay.
official
Yeah, yeah,
language of
yeah,
India.
yeah.
So we had to sometimes we had to have translators if patients came from those villages because they'll only speak that language.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
So it was very
I mean,
interesting.
it's not that like strange in India. It's billion people. Our country is 3 million people only. 3 million people,
Okay.
and we have different dialects, like five different, six different. If you would take like Americans call the redneck from the one county where
Yeah.
dialect is one dialect, and take the redneck from the other, they couldn't understand each other too. And
Wow.
and they and our language comes from like one of the oldest, like from the 1,000 years old or something like that,
Wow.
from Latin times. It comes from that times. I mean, it's a pity, but I guess it's like it'll take few hundred years more and we'll be gone. Our population will be gone. That's a pity.
Well,
But
I hope not.
nevertheless, 3 million people will manage to beat USA in basketball a couple of times.
Okay,
That's a
okay.
that's a proud moment. But it's bad when you beat them like in not in the playoffs. In the playoffs you get back yours like again, but still like our little country is famous for that one. We had a lot of players in NBA too, still have. So it's like basketball was like a form of resistance in Soviet Union for us. Like
Okay.
basketball games was like fighting on the court for a country, for against the Russia,
Wow.
against the Soviet. I mean, our our team, the Kauno Žalgiris, let's say the main team of a club team, in those Soviet times was like only Lithuanian players, only from the country from 3, 4 million people. And Moscow CSK, which is the capital of the Soviet Union too, their players were from all of the Soviet Union. The players we gathered like a dream team, let's say, right? And our little country's basketball man always had like fight fist to fist, teeth for teeth with a CSK army team. So and we
Okay.
like it's never was like the only winning. We had a lot of victories. So and it was like in 1992 when we became in 90s when we became independent from the Soviet Union. 92 was the first Olympic Games where we were playing there. So some guy, the Grateful Death team, this band, have heard of it, Grateful Death.
Mm-mm.
Those
No.
guys, those guys helped fund our team because we didn't have the money to go.
Wow.
They made the
Wow.
t-shirts. They made like, okay, let's make a t-shirt because our Marcelonis, one player of ours, was playing in NBA already. The first,
Okay.
one of the first from the Soviet Union to go to Golden State Warriors. So and so he had some connections with Donnie Nelson, the son of Nelson, and he had connection with the group, the band. And he's like, those guys are so good at basketball. They want to go to Olympics. They don't have the money to go. And the Grateful Dead said, okay, let's make the t-shirts with the colors of Lithuanian colors is like yellow, green, and red, like African colors, right? Good colors. They made like a skull playing basketball. they made like on the concerts with this T-shirt, and it helped fund our team, and we won the bronze medals in the first
Wow,
time. That was like
that's a
for the
wild
third.
story.
Yeah. That's
That's crazy.
of course, we played in semifinals with a dream team, it was like minus 40 or 50 points because it was impossible at that time to compete with
Okay.
Jordan, all the guys. But still, it's for us, it's like a religion.
Is basketball really, really popular in your country?
Yeah. It's like s- first and the only one. The football, the soccer, it's not that popular
Okay.
by far, by far.
And how frequent do you find English speakers? Does almost everybody in your country speak English like you? Or like not everybody speaks English? Like what is the scene?
It's starting from my age, from the 40s and younger, I guess not quite a lot would speak English already. But the older than me, my age, it's not that far. But I mean, the people in 30s and younger, of course, they speak, most of them.
Okay. So if
Yeah.
somebody like me visits Lithuania, you will easily find English speakers.
No problem, not a problem at all, not a problem. In the biggest cities, in the capital, in the Vilnius, in Kaunas, and the cafes, everywhere, the younger you'll ask younger people, they even, I mean, destroy our language by speaking more in English words like our more than ours. Like that's happening.
Okay. I
Yeah,
will I would say very same in India. Like I would say like the English speaking population is more. I would say like out of 100 people, 98 or 99 would speak English, but they're more interested in like speaking in English than in the local language.
yeah. It's like more popular,
Yeah,
That's
it's more hip.
that's yeah, that's some like the baddest things that England made to speak
Yeah,
everyone in their language. They
yeah.
constructed the language that the conspiracy theories say, you know. So,
Yeah,
can you tell me you've met Andy today or yesterday about
yesterday.
after the all the circus in the White House with Zelensky? How was the atmosphere? I guess he was stoked. He should be like happy about it.
Yeah, he was. So yesterday, the episode that we recorded was not the political episode. It was the question and answer episode.
Okay,
So
yeah,
we didn't discuss on this much, but he was happy about this thing that I'm also happy about because now also I'm technically an American. So one of my biggest gripes with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris was that they were representing a weak image of America everywhere else. So when I was talking to my friends back home, everybody was making fun of them because of how they were presenting themselves in front of media.
yeah.
And reg- so if you are a level-headed person, regardless of whether you are on this side or that side, I feel if the leader of a country represents a strong image of that country, that is always good. So what happened yesterday was Trump and the vice president, they represented a strong image of the country. And depending upon how brainwashed someone is and how arrogant they are, they will take it in a different way. But the way I see it is they're representing a strong image of America in front of everybody else. Like you know it more than anybody listening to the podcast that there has been so many things that are uncovering that all this money that went to different countries and to Ukraine, there's no log for it. Nobody knows where it went, and it seems like it's a big scam. And if somebody is asking for more money to do another scam, like what should a leader of a country do when there is so much inside the country that it can be used for,
It needs to be, right? It needs to be. It's same here, man.
100%.
We're small country with nothing. Like we don't have the gas, the oil, nothing at all. Our businesses are destroyed after COVID, after everything, and still those motherfuckers from the government and everything, they say we'll take 10 billion million will send to Ukraine, and everyone here is screaming, can you pay
Doesn't
our
make
people?
sense.
Can you pay
Yeah,
pensions first of all for our old people? Can you make everything here good? Like, why would I mean, they made this bad for us, like for me also, with this pushing too much, like it was with COVID, it was the same now with Ukraine, pushing too much, like for us, Ukraine, we have the flags all over the place. We have like in kid from Ukraine coming to a kindergarten, he has his own teacher to look after him. The one has one. Why my kid doesn't have that? I mean, our
yeah,
people having problems to enter the kindergarten, and they're like taking
yeah.
and giving them extra teacher. That's all that stuff. Like they made it like even people hate the Ukrainian. I'm not talking about the political thing about
No, no, I
the
get it.
Zelensky, all
Even
that
like
stuff, but all those small stuff, you know.
100%. Like I have seen this a very common thing. Every time a big celebrity posts in support of Ukraine or somebody bashes Trump's behavior towards Ukraine, what I've seen is every once in a while somebody would comment like, "Hey, I am from Ukraine." And these people are destroying the men of Ukraine. They are
Yeah, of
not doing any
course,
good to Ukraine. And that feels like true. And going back to your topic about like why is my kid not getting it or why are our people not getting it, I'll say two things real quick on that. Number one, when you fly on any sort of airplane anywhere, they always tell you if something bad happens and the pressure in the cabin changes and the mask comes down, put your mask first
yeah,
before helping others.
of
It
course,
makes sense because if you're dying, you can't help anybody else. And if you do
of
that,
course,
it's stupid. And the same thing with because you have a family, I have a family, you know, regardless of how much money you have or you don't have, you have to first see the core stability of your own family
of
before
course.
going out and helping a homeless person.
I mean, I use analogy. When the whole thing started with Ukraine, everyone just go help Ukraine, take the people. Same as in US, same shit. They because they push the same narrative, right? I went out on Facebook and made a live. I got a lot of hate for that, of course, but I said, first of all, I'm gonna feed my family. I'm not gonna feed
Absolutely.
their what kind of family figure you are, the father, if you feed your neighbor kid first, then yours? What kind of bullshit is that? Who does it? The one who doesn't love your family. How can you feed the neighbor before your kid? It's not possible. So
And the
that's
fact is, and to your point, like they're not even our neighbors. Like looking at from an American
for
perspective,
you, yeah,
they're not even
especially.
our yeah, not even our neighbors. And you know, you listen to the podcast, you understand the whole thing that's coming out for how USAID was giving away
Yeah,
money,
yeah.
and then like $30 million or something going to put like a Sesame Street show in Iraq. Like, first of all, it's nonsense. Second of all, who is going
Why?
there and checking that it's actually happening?
No, no, those things don't happen. What happens for sure, same in our country from USAID, the journalists, all those bastards get paid to brainwash our people. That happens for sure. That's what I want. You can tell Andy the same because they speak like, and it's a good point. Like, who will go and check that transgender show or something like that? You never it might not even happen in Afghanistan or Brazil, of course, but the thing that happened a lot, that's the brainwashing, the medias, the journalists, that happens for sure. Because now here it's a big screaming all over the place from the journalists, the media people, all those influencers, so-called, right, who don't get the money anymore after they cut the US aid.
Yeah, yeah,
They
exactly.
started those similar to GoFundMe, all that stuff, because they used to get the money from there to write something about what we don't want to hear, the ideologies of the transgenderism or something like that, which we don't need. We don't want. We are
That's right.
quite a old-fashioned nation, right? So
Most
this,
of the people are like, even like to your point when you're saying we are old fashioned. What happens is And I think this is the reason why this time Kamala didn't win and Trump won,
Yeah,
was at the core, when you take away all the influencers and the celebrities, at the core, the real people of your country, real people of our country, they're traditional family people.
yeah,
They don't want all this glitz and glamour. They don't want to talk really off the wall ideas. They want to provide for their families and they want to be happy, not overtaxed, and not give away our money to somewhere else where we don't know where it's going. So this is something all traditional people like you and me connect on.
yeah, yeah.
And that is the reason why I think majority of the people voted Trump to come back in, because we, like traditional family people, don't want that. Like I live this neighborhood that I live in, I have like about 40 houses in my small neighborhood, and all of them are exactly what you and I are just talking about. Regular family people want to go to work, do good work, come back home, spend time with their family, live healthy and happy.
That's a lot in Europe too. I mean, you guys, you might not know. I mean, there is some bullshit in those France, England, Germany, where they're pushing those agendas, all that stuff. But all the other part of Europe, it's against it. It's not only Poland and Hungary, but the thing is, people just let it go. They work and live their lives and let it go. The
Yes.
politics let go. So everyone in here, I mean, not everyone, but a lot of people, like me personally too, we were waiting for Trump to be elected like more than anything else in any politics in the world. I was sitting at night and waiting for results. I don't do this for my president. I don't care. That's for I don't care about it. I did really sit for 2 days, no sleeping, waiting for results from Trump because I remember what happened last time when we went to sleep and Doug Trump was winning. When we wake up, what the fuck happened? Why he didn't win? So all that stuff, and now it's like vice versa. Now all those cry, how can they like elect this person? This you don't even imagine. We're like even afraid how those motherfuckers now call the Trump, the Vance, how they call them, how they
Yeah.
call
and
Elon, and
and
it's
that's
like
the
our American is our ally. They guaranteed
yeah.
Lithuania. George Bush senior, no, not the senior, the junior came here and said, "Now you're protected by United States when we joined the NATO." Uh, It was against the agreements with Russia, of course, but I mean that happened. And it's like we everyone know the main like shield for us. It's not EU, it's United States. And now they're shitting on the Trump because they don't like his politics, because they are leftists, because they have canceled payments from USAID. And now we're sitting like talking, okay, where will it lead our country when they're talking this shit about president of our main ally? Where will it lead? Because there is also talks began. There is some small part of uh, U.S. soldiers in our country. I'm not. I don't want to say I'm happy about it because it's like kind of occupation as well. But it's kind of looking from the other side. It's kind of guarantee the so-called Russia will not invade us because the American soldiers are there. And now they started talking that they will pull out because of the agreements, because of the Zelensky's, all that stuff, because the European Union behaves that way. So now everyone is freaked out even more. It's not like Russian, I mean, all this stuff is so funny and bullshit. Like they speak on one hand, like Russia is tired, we need to beat them to the ground now, and they turn to other side and they say Russia will invade us in like 2 years. They're beat down, but they'll invade us. So
uh,
and it's cool, and it's cool. It's a joke in here, like it's cool that Russia and the Putin is so nice to wait for us till we get our guns. They say to us like they invade us in like 3 or 4 years, and they speaking to people. We need 7% from the GPD so we can buy the guns, the tanks, the all that stuff. And we speak like that's cool. they're waiting till we get our guns. That's good. That's nice of them.
That's funny.
Yeah, so I interrupted you. You wanted to say something
No,
about
I was just going to ask you that when you were saying that you were sitting and waiting for the results,
yeah.
to you personally, why do you think it was so important that Trump should be reelected? Like, why was it important to you?
Two things, man. First of all, America should be strong. I mean, I call America like Titanic, right? If
Okay,
Titanic sank, if Titanic sank, all our little boats sank too. That's it. I mean,
okay,
we're like this. If it sinks, it makes a wave. We'll sink to the this agenda 2030 to transgenderism, all the communism, all that stuff. We know that for sure. So the first of all, it's like democracy, not what they call democracy, but the real
yeah,
democracy. That's why
yeah,
the who have real mind sane left. We want this. And I mean, America should be strong, right? We don't want America strong that much who went to Afghanistan or Serbia and like on in the name of NATO and destroyed the countries. We don't want that, but the real America, what's like Trump is talking like peace, not war, right? Who is
that's
like
right.
a policeman of the world, but doesn't make himself the CIA things, you know what they do. It's like I'm even sure that our freedom was like made by the CIA when they destroyed the Soviet Union.
Hmm.
We think it's like a first of the color revolutions what happened in our country. I mean, there was a totally like 100% ripe place for it because we didn't want to belong to Soviet Union because it was oppression, because it was occupation were occupied, right? But it was made by American agencies, for sure. So, I mean, we want the strong leader. I mean, for me, Trump is a cool guy. He's like he's not a politician. First of all, he speaks his mind, what he wants. He might sound sometimes strange, but he's funny and he's like everyone saying deal maker, right? We know he'll make good deals for America, and I don't care that much about European Union because it's done already. It's just years left for it because it's too much of a socialism over there. It's not gonna, it doesn't have a chance to live. So to for a world to be good, America has to be strong, healthy, and nice. That's my view. And so and then
That's great.
the, the
Also, I had one question, which is like slightly not related to our topic right now,
no problem.
but earlier what you said was when you were drinking every day for 15 years or whatever, and then you always knew that one day I'll quit. And then you said that day came and you quit. When you knew that you, okay, one day I'll do it, but then, of course, because you were in that cycle, you never do it. What happened? What changed that you actually changed that habit or broke that loop? What changed?
The few things that happened, few things that like fell into places. First of all, my first marriage broke out, and my girls, I had two daughters, and they moved out. It's I will not sound like really a good man, but I didn't care about the wife that much as I care about my daughters. That was like a big thing for me. I didn't get to see them every day after that, like when they moved out. So, and I was into politics a little bit in Lithuania. So, and it was like my third time to get into local city office in the politics in
Okay.
the in like city parliament, let's say for a lack
Mm-hmm.
of a better word, and I didn't succeed there again, third time
Okay.
in a row. And after that, in the morning, I knew the results. I sat with some older guys who drank, and I wake up in the evening and I don't understand which day it is because we drank in the morning after the drinking
Okay.
in the election night. So I wake up, it's like everything fall into places. It's like thousand calls missed. I don't understand by the sun, is it morning or evening? It's like, and that like fell into places. Okay, what kind of example I'm gonna be for my kids if I'm continuing like this? Where are my dreams, which I had in my high school? I'm gonna be this, I'm gonna be that, I'm gonna drive this, I'm gonna live there. Nothing that happened in 20 years after the school, right? In 15 years after the school. So everything like kind of fell into places, and I was like this a second, like an hour. I needed to understand that's it. I don't need no more beer in the morning, no nothing. I need to finish this because it's not gonna lead me nowhere good. And I had this like feeling in my gut for years already that it's not good. It's not leading me nowhere. I'm not that what I expected of me, what I imagined I would be. My businesses are failing because I'm not good leader. I'm not a good businessman because I drink too much. My family like broke up. I mean, it led me to my now wife, which is the best thing that happened also to me. Like we said, connecting the dots backwards,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So my I can my father is a heavy drinker. He's not anymore, but he's like he if he would drink, he would drink for a week and it would like make all those crazy stuff. My uncle died of it, so I'm kind of come from this background with this. But you know, it's like in the story of the with the two sons of the father drinker, right? One's
Yes.
one is
Yes.
drinking, the other's not. Why you drink? Because my father drink. Why you don't? Because my father drink. So for me, it took some time to realize that I was in this loop because we didn't have the. I'm living in in town. It's 20,000 people. It's a
Okay.
quite a village. So we didn't have what to do else except drinking in our teenage years. You go to a disco, to go somewhere, you drink a little, drink a little. The drugs was not there at the moment. So that's how you get into the loop, into the everyone around is drinking is that kind of culture, you know, Russia drinking or drinking. You just fall into this place. And so, but was like as I said, I knew that's not me. I'm just like follow the track, what I wanted to be, what I imagined myself to be, and what I want my kids to see, right? But first of all, what I want to be, who I want to be. So, and after that, it took me 10 years to, again, to make all things like to make the health better, to make because I had the spine injury later on, like 5, 6 years ago. I was laying in a bed for a couple of months because I couldn't move the spine injury. All that stuff like then fell into places after I quit drinking. So I had to like I had a lot of struggles to get out of it. But now I'm best I could be at the moment, and I'm going for more. So you
That's
know, it's
awesome, man. That is awesome. That I absolutely respect that. And I'm so happy for you. Because not
thanks.
only like I connect to it in a way, and a lot of people watching this would connect to it in a way, because everybody has that one thing or a few things in their life that they know that they should stop doing, and they still keep doing it because it just has become a habit.
Yeah, that's
And
a
it
habit.
just
That's a habit.
it 100%. And like you said, like you knew in the back of your head that you could do better, but because of that habit it was keeping you here.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like not only me, the whole surrounding of myself, from the school, from the family, from the friends, everyone knew from my teenage years, this guy is gonna be something. And I knew. And I fell into this trap, like it should, this something, all of it should come to me just like that for
Just like
nothing,
that. Yeah. Oh
without
my
working.
God.
Yeah,
A hundred
it
percent
should
same.
come to me.
Same thing. Same thing. When I came to Chicago and I was, doing different jobs and I was applying, I was like, why is this thing? Why are things not happening to me? Because I'm so good at everything. Everybody has told me
Yeah,
that I'm so good at everything. Things just come to me, and that was not happening. And it was such a wake up call for me.
yeah, yeah, man. It's like, and everything happened for a reason, right? We found
Oh, for sure.
some guys like Andy. We found some guys like other stuff. You start changing your mind, and here we are. So
Yeah.
it's a great journey, and it's like, some people my age, like 40, 43, 44, my classmates, I see them, they're already dead because they have like
Wow.
family, the house bill. I mean, dead not in a literal way,
Yeah, yeah,
but
I understand. Yeah,
in
yeah,
in the life. I see
yeah,
what happened to you. For me, I'm the same 20 years old guy with just 20 years experience on it. That's it. I'm 20 years old.
yeah,
I'm just getting started.
yeah.
And some people in
I agree.
40s, they're already like finished in life. I don't get it, man. So
It's so funny that you say that because I have a picture that I downloaded from the internet, which it was a stat about like how people started a very big major company really late in their life. Like the
yeah,
founder of
yeah,
Walmart, like the KFC founder, the
McDonald's.
Red Bull founder, McDonald's,
Yeah, yeah.
almost all of them
The
founded all of
50s.
these multi-billion dollar companies in their late 40s, 50s, or 60s.
Yeah, yeah,
And this is something I struggle with also because I'm in my 30s right now. And I also feel like, man, I wasted a good chunk of 10 to 15 years
yeah.
just doing stupid stuff. And I could have done, like, I feel like I've wasted so much time. But when I talk to anybody at work or somewhere else who are 10, 15 years older to me, and even like 20 years older to me, they always say, like, you have so much time. Because Andy and Seth's father, Big Jim,
Yeah,
comes to the
yeah,
office almost all the
yeah.
time. And he's very good with advice. And he's like 74, 75 years old. And I always ask him different aspects of life and career and this and that. And one of the things he always tells me, like, you have a lot of time. And in my head, I feel like I wasted so much time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But those people in your 40s that you're giving the example of, if they have accepted, no, I can't do anything anymore,
yeah,
then
yeah,
once you accept this, you're done.
yeah. Of course, of course. I mean, I was kind of this till I woke up one morning, like, what are you doing? Where are you? Is it how you gonna finish your life? Like drinking your life away and then seeing nothing, doing nothing, leaving no marks in life? That's not you. That's not you. I mean, that's up to everyone else who decides to be like he wants to. So, but for me, I just started because I really
One of
started.
Yeah, no, I completely understand because I feel the same way. I feel the same way because I feel like the last 4 or 5 years, it felt like everything else was just like a foundation block, and
Yeah,
now
yeah,
I'm gonna go add some more on top of it, and then I'm
yeah.
gonna go up. And I was I was going to say something on this topic. Oh yeah, a lot of those people who are just like you say you're done, they either they are too much into their past or they're too much into their future. And I used to
Mm,
struggle with it too. I'm not like a master it, but what I have experienced now is you cannot, until you have a time machine, you cannot go in the past and change things. Like if I had a chance, I would go back and you would go back and change a lot of things for sure, but we can't do that. We
but
cannot do
I'm
that.
not
So
sure if I would go actually,
no, I agree with
I
that.
got,
That's a whole, yeah, I agree. I
yeah,
agree. Like going back to our topic that, those things happen
yeah, yeah,
to make us who we are today.
yeah, yeah,
I
for a
get that
reason,
topic,
man.
but that's a different train of thought.
Yeah,
What I was
yeah, yeah, I
saying is,
understand.
you understand what I'm trying to say. Like we can't change the past. So what we are going to do is in this moment today, this very second, we'll do the very best that we can so that eventually our past and our future becomes great. So
Yeah,
we
yeah,
can't do anything about the past. Like I can't do anything about the 10 years that I've wasted.
yeah,
I
yeah.
can't do anything like that.
There's a reason the rear view this mirror is so small. You
Yes,
don't need to
yes,
look that the
correct, correct. Absolutely. There's a very famous saying that what you were saying, that the rear view mirror is smaller than the windshield. So you
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
need to look in the past way more than you need to look ahead.
Yeah, yeah. And if you like do like this a lot, it fucks up with your neck.
Yeah,
You have
absolutely.
to look at back.
Absolutely agree.
So okay, so give us uh any kind of like because you work with him every day in that atmosphere, the advice for people, what would you say, taking from what you've learned from Andy, that something like the idea about life, about business, about self-improvement, what would you say to the people who will listen to show?
So this kind of builds up on the thing that I was talking earlier that, people often ask me, like, what are the best lessons that you got from
Yeah, yeah,
Andy? So this is kind of building on top of that. So
yeah.
100%, and you understand this, like 100%, what you do today matters. What you will do tomorrow doesn't matter. What you did yesterday doesn't matter. What you do today matters. And this answer to the question that you were asking is kind of like culmination of 5 or 6 topics. But one was that, and the second one is like, before coming here and seeing him closely, I always thought that there is some sort of like secret information that this rich people have. Like there is some information or there's some scheme or some system that they're using that is making them
Cheat
so
code.
successful in the cheat code. There is, after 5 years of observing them closely, I am understanding now that there is absolutely no cheat code. You have to decide what you want to do. Like this is a very basic information online for free that, this 10 years from now, 20 years from now, you want to be this person, having this kind of house, driving this car, having this much money in your bank account, and you are
Yeah,
here today. Break it down into 5 years, 1 year,
yeah,
months,
yeah,
weeks, day, and work on that every single day, which Andy calls the power list
yeah,
concept.
yeah, yeah.
Like, and that information has been in different ways, different forms for hundreds of years.
Of course.
And now I realize that there is absolutely no cheat code, there's no secret information. How efficient you are with what you're doing, and are what the actions you're taking is that action taking you towards that direction where you want to
Yeah,
be.
yeah, yeah.
If
That's
you're
also
doing that,
important.
you will eventually get there. That's very important. And I think Andy has a very famous quote that I always keep in my mind. He says that if you are not where you want to be, or if you're not at least on the path to where you want to be, it's because of only two reasons. One, you're not following the right plan, or two, you have not followed the right plan long enough.
Yeah,
And I feel like that sums down everything. So, anybody, including me, and I always give myself all these advices too, like break it down into days, be efficient with your time. And it's not that you have to be working all the time. Like you have, I am a big proponent of hard work doesn't need to be torturous. Like you have to decide, like, okay, I'm gonna work 6 hours today, or I'm gonna work 4 hours today. Then during those 4 hours, be hyper
yeah,
focused and
yeah.
eliminate everything distracting. But once you're done with it, do not think about work. Spend good time with your family. Spend some good time doing what you enjoy, and don't let these things overlap.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what I used to do, and I still do at times, is when you'll be working, you will be thinking about, oh my God, when is this gonna end? And I'm gonna just sit and enjoy. And then once you sit and enjoy, you'll be like, man, am I
I would
sitting and
need.
enjoying and wasting time too much? Should I be working?
Should I
That
be
is
doing
a
that? That's
very,
right.
yeah, should I be doing something? That's a very exhausting feeling, because not only you don't enjoy what you're doing in this moment or this moment, you're wasting your mental energy, just exhausting yourself from within. So these are some things that I absolutely learned. And and one of the other things I picked up from them was it, where you are right now. Like, even you, talking about me, where we are right now is not because we are some great people. It's because we took the right actions to bring us where we are right now. And if we don't keep taking the action and keep increasing the multitude and the frequency of those actions, we will not go where we want to be. So it's not us, it's our actions. It's
Yeah.
what we do and we not do.
Yeah, it's like I remember the saying, "How you eat an elephant," right? It's one bite at a
Yes,
time.
yes,
It's the
100%.
same. You have
100%.
this elephant and you eat it. Eat your way up.
Yeah, 100%. One thing I will also add to this. So, when I was in Chicago and I was doing part-time jobs, like I told you, I was doing mainly three jobs. So, one was a dental assistant. So, the assistant that assists the dentist
Yeah.
when you're doing stuff. So, one was that. And the second was freelance graphic designing. So, I would pick up graphic designs job here and there. And the third one was doing part-time Uber here in Chicago.
Mhm.
You have Uber there?
Other names, but same stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Okay.
not
Same
Uber,
stuff. So
not
you
Uber. Yeah,
understand what it is.
yeah,
So
of course.
I did that on and off at different times in different intervals. But what I used to do is I used to always talk to people and get to know from their experience.
Yeah, yeah.
And I especially was very interested when somebody was over the age of 40, 50, 60, and if somebody has worked in their job for more than 10 years. So
Mhm.
I have immense respect for people who have worked in the same industry for 10, 20, 30 years. So I always like to learn from them. So I always used to ask them this question, like, hey, and it's a very famous question, like, hey, if you have to give some sort of advice to your younger self, what would you do? And I think, if I'm not wrong, I have asked this question to close to 8 to 10,000 people. And two things were very common in different words. Like people will say this in different words, but two things were very,
Yeah.
very, very common.
Mhm.
One of the things was that they wish they spend more time with their family. That meaning their
Oh,
significant other, their kids, their
it's right.
parents. They wish they spent more time with that. And the second thing was they wish they would have taken more risks,
Risks,
meaning
right.
like I wish I would have started that business. I wish I would have gone for that career. I wish I would have asked that person out, things like that.
Yeah, yeah,
So this is coming from my personal experience, and when I put those things together, I realized that, hey, even I was doing that.
yeah,
My life would have been different if instead of dental school I would have done design and animation back in 2014.
yeah,
But I didn't do that. And same for you. Like you spent some time figuring out things with the lawyer stuff. What if instead of all that time you took the risk and you did what you're doing now back then?
yeah.
You'll be way far ahead.
Of course, but we cannot change that. So we're looking
100%.
forward.
100%. So
Amen.
this is
So,
something I always tell kids and I always tell people whenever we get into a discussion like this, because this is coming from good 8,000 people and
yeah,
of different ages, different money patterns, different
industries, right?
jobs, different industries. This is something I feel like it's very common in the whole human race. And I think if you look it up, this is one of the very common thing that people say on their deathbeds
Yeah,
in
yeah,
hospitals and stuff like that they wish they would have done more and they wish they
yeah.
would have spent more time with their family.
It's like better regretting doing something, even stupid, than regretting not trying. So it's like
100%. It's
never,
a
never
big
like that.
regret. Yeah.
So, okay, I'm thinking we can go to an end. It's quite an hour
Yes.
and a half. Not
Yeah.
everyone will listen and watch
But
it for
it
so
was an
long, but
amazing conversation. It
yeah, I
flew.
like
It
it.
it flowed so well, and I feel like I didn't even realize 1.5 hours went through. And if
Yeah.
somebody listens to it, I feel like 100% I'm sure they will take in from your and my experience, and it hopefully makes a positive difference in their lives.
I'll definitely ask you to share this as well because your audience
Absolutely.
because my audience is more Lithuanian, so I don't have a lot of English. But my idea is to go out into this waters, right? And
Yeah,
it's like, what what better person to start with than you know? I mean,
yeah,
because I wanted to meet you, I wanted to like get to know you because we kind of know each other, but this was
yes.
really, really nice,
I would
enjoyable
also like
conversation.
yeah, absolutely. And I am a big I love traveling. I'm very big on travel. So hopefully one day
That would be
I
nice.
would wish to come to Lithuania.
Pick a summertime, of course. If you don't,
Okay.
you don't want this weather like here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if,
It's
you know,
similar, I guess. It's similar in like Chicago weather.
yeah. So I'm like strikingly enough, amazingly enough, do not have a big problem with winter. I'm
Ah,
okay with winter, but I understand what you mean. It's like it's
we don't
less
get sun
torturous.
for 2 months now. We don't have sun for 2 months. You don't want it.
What?
Yeah, it's
So
like it,
what is in the day? What happens?
it's kind of joke, but the clouds are all the time here. And
Oh,
not only chemtrail clouds, but clouds for real. The winter, the autumn, and the spring is bad. I mean, it's depressing. It's like someone had counted last year's December. We had 9 hours of sun, and now I'm joking like. 2 months we didn't have the sun, but it's pretty much true. And we had like
wow.
half a day sun a couple of days ago, and it's back again to cloudy. So,
Wow, that's
and
interesting.
the country is more beautiful in summer, of course. You got to see the beauty of our country in summer more than
So
it's
what
winter.
months do you consider summer for yourself?
I guess June, I mean, all the summer, but the best one is August, the beginning of August. So it's like statistically less chance of rain. Then it's a real
Okay,
summer. The end of
okay,
End of July, beginning of the August is the best ones.
okay.
Pretty much every
It's
time.
so it's so different than when I was growing up in India. It's actually exact opposite. We get
Yeah,
too
because
much
it diff
sun.
if
Yeah,
it's a globe, it's a
yeah,
different parts of the globe.
correct, correct. We are right
Yeah,
on the equator.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
that is one of the reasons I feel like China and India have so much population
Mm,
because we don't get extreme winters.
yeah, yeah,
So a lot of people just are there because the weather is pretty much nice
yeah,
throughout the
yeah.
year.
Of
And we
course.
get a lot of sun actually, too much.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's never too much. You
All
can
right.
hide from the sun, but you cannot get it if it's not there.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
That's a
so
good point.
okay, Dishan, thanks a lot for your talk, for your time.
It was awesome for
Appreciate
me
it.
too. I learned so many things, and it's always good to get some different perspective. I absolutely enjoyed it.
I'm hoping like we can make it sometime later, try to make it again or on some like
Absolutely.
maybe on some exact topics or something, but let's have it in our minds for a future. So
Cool.
thanks everyone who was watching. Thanks everyone who tuned in. Comment, tell us something. Maybe you want to hear from us something. We can make it
Absolutely.
happen. Okay, so see you
Cool.
later. Cheers.